Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Say something, Ishan. Ishan. Hello, Ishan.
Wow, it says video output low now again. Hey, hi, testing.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you
Hey,
hear me? Say something
what's
now.
up? Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I'm just seeing the output, but it's saying video output low again.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you
Yes, I
Okay.
can. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Uh,
I saw a fan, but I can't see you. Like, I mean, the other one with you in it is like frozen. Oh, fuck.
Ishan, just say something really quickly.
Hey, Niraj, can you hear me?
One
Can you
second.
hear me?
Say now.
Can
Speak.
you?
I just want to see that it's recording through the OBS.
Can you hear me now? Does this work better?
Can you? Your volume is low though. Is the problem? I don't know why.
Why? That's so strange. That's super weird. I don't know what to do with this.
All right, it's better now. It's a lot better now. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay. I think
Okay,
that's
one second. Let me just check my mic settings on
all right. Should I
this.
stop streaming or should I start again?
No, just let's
Keep it going.
try it.
All right, I'm gonna
Yeah, keep it
transition it.
going in there. Yeah.
All right. I hope this works now. Sorry, guys. Thanks for bearing with us. I don't know why this keeps happening. Um, everything was working smoothly for the past few weeks.
Yeah. It
Can
still says output low, man.
output is low now?
Video output's low. I'm just gonna refresh the page. I don't think it's me because I can see you pretty well.
We're getting a message. Can hear you both. Okay, that's good.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Ishan's volume it's maxed out on both the softwares for my end.
Yeah, I don't know what else I can do from here.
Stream. There'll be a new link if you want to send it.
Yeah, hang on. I'll send that.
All right.
Okay. Someone says sounds good. So
Okay,
I
great.
don't know if that. Oh, that's for working on it. All right. Do you switch us over?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right.
Okay, great. So yeah, welcome to G5A's Virtual Cinema Club.
Oh, that's for working on it. All right. Do you switch us over?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right.
Okay, great. So yeah, welcome to
Ishan?
G5A's Virtual Cinema Club. I'm getting
Oh,
feedback
that's
from
for working
somewhere.
on it. All right. Do you switch us
Yeah,
over?
same. I
Mhm.
don't know where. I can just like keep
Okay.
like hearing us saying
Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay,
Like
great. Is that better? All right, I think we figured it out. It was myself.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so I think this is
Cool,
finally
cool. I
working
think-
now.
Yeah, I think we're good. Just let us know if you can hear us. If it's all good, we'll give this another go. Cool. Yeah. So Nirj, you can
Yeah.
kick us off this time
Okay.
because I said everything last
Yeah,
time
yeah.
and nobody could hear it.
Okay, sounds good. So welcome to G5A's Virtual Cinema Club. My name is Niraj. I'm a cinematographer based in Los Angeles. We have Ishan Benegal. He works at G5A. He's he brought me on board to help start this cinema club, which allows us to watch two films by a director. So each week we pick one director and we watch two films by that director per week. And this is a way for us to discuss a little deeper some of the craft, some of the thematic elements, and just other musings about these films that we're watching on a weekly basis. And so this week we are having an intermission, which we've done a few of before, which allow us to dive a little deeper into these specific elements of craft and just look into them and figure out kind of directorial intent and what's really kind of going on behind the scenes. So kind of separating them from the movie for a bit and just to kind of really see the craft at work. So this week we've picked a scene from Inglorious Bastards by Quentin Tarantino, which we think is an incredible scene to start talking about not only just the visuals and the this choice of sound and music, but also just really the crafting of a scene, because the scene itself is a two-person scene, and it's negotiation. It's each character has very strong objectives in this scene, and as a result, it's a very interesting scene to explore from the standpoint of trying to really figure out how to direct a scene like this from a performance standpoint and from a visual standpoint as well.
And also, I think it's sort of without realizing, right, when you're watching it for the first time, it sort of just sets the tone for the rest of the film.
Exactly.
Even though it's not like incredibly direct, but it sort of just like gets you thinking about these various ideas, themes, and sort of just like the different dynamic and like context of the film. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is it's done very like quickly, very efficiently, I think, and also like quite successfully.
Yeah. So without any further ado, Ishan is going to share the video, and then I think most of you are on the Telegram group, I hope, so you've received the script so you can follow along. So we had to break it up into two parts, but the first part we're going to talk about we're going to have to just reference the scripts that we have, and then for the second part, the script is going to be on the screen as we see the scene, so it'll be a little easier once we switch over. So yeah, let's just dive right into it.
Yeah, sounds good.
So the script as you're setting that up, I'll just start talking a little bit about the script. So the script kind of gives you a little bit of setting, a little bit of what the space is like at the beginning of it, and we'll see how sometimes the script even gives us what kind of type of shot the director or the writer is imagining. In this case, the same person, obviously. So yeah, you want to play it?
Yeah, just give me once.
Yeah,
I'm
no
just like
worries.
setting it up.
Sounds good.
We're almost ready, and um, yeah, I think that's good. Cool. So what we'll do is, I think I'm just wondering, we should just start this clip, right? It's
Yeah.
about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we'll watch it through once, and then we'll sort of like talk about it.
Yeah.
And then we can move on to the second. I think that
Yeah.
sounds
Sounds good.
That seems good.
Perfect.
All right. Cool. Can you guys hear? Sorry, I don't know what just. I don't know why it stopped. Should I just start it again?
You can just keep playing it. It's fine.
Retournez à l'intérieur. Fermez la porte. Julie. Va me chercher de l'eau à la pompe pour que je me débarrasse. Et rentre à l'intérieur avec tes sœurs. Merci ma chérie. Maintenant tu rentres à l'intérieur avec tes sœurs. Tu coupes pas, hein? Från Lapadin. Ja. Herman, vi ses i welcher Line gelassen. Die wird noch. Est-ce la propriété de Perrier Lapadite?
Je suis Perrier Lapadite.
C'est un plaisir de vous rencontrer, monsieur Lapadite. Je suis le colonel SS Hans Landa.
Que puis-je faire pour vous?
J'espérais que vous m'inviteriez à entrer chez vous afin que nous puissions avoir une discussion.
Certainement. Après. Colonel Landa, ici ma famille.
Colonel SS Hans Landa, mademoiselle, à votre service. Les rumeurs qui circulent dans le village au sujet de votre famille sont tout à fait fondées. Monsieur Lapadite, vos filles sont toutes plus jolies les unes que les autres.
Merci. Je vous en prie. Asseyez. Suzanne, tu veux bien aller chercher du vin pour le colonel?
Ah, mais non, merci beaucoup, monsieur Lapadite, pas de vin. Puisque nous sommes sur une exploitation laitière, je suppose sans risque de me tromper que vous avez du lait?
Oui,
Alors, je préfère du lait.
très bien.
Tu veux bien aller fermer la fenêtre, s'il te plaît?
Merci. Monsieur, à votre famille et à vos vaches, je dis bravo.
Merci.
Je vous en prie, venez me rejoindre à votre table.
Très bien.
Monsieur Lapetite, vu ce dont nous avons à discuter, il serait préférable de discuter en privé. J'ai laissé mes armes à l'extérieur. Si cela ne les offense pas, pourriez-vous l'obliger de demander à vos charmantes dames de sortir?
Vous avez raison. Charlotte, tu veux bien emmener tes sœurs dehors? Le colonel et moi, on a 2-3 mots à se dire.
Monsieur Lapadite, je suis au regret de vous informer que j'ai épuisé l'étendue de mon français. Continuer à le parler si peu convenablement ne ferait que me gêner. Cependant, je crois savoir que vous parlez un anglais tout à fait correct, n'est-ce pas?
Oui.
Ma foi, il se trouve que moi aussi. Puisque nous sommes ici chez vous, je vous demande la permission de passer à l'anglais pour le reste de la conversation.
Certainement.
Voilà.
All right, so
Yeah.
that's the first bit, and then we have the rest over here. But I think we should.
Yeah, do you want to just hit? Yeah, okay, there you go. Awesome. So let's just go right back to the top of the scene. And so if you guys have your scripts in front of you, it's great because like we're going to be referencing the scripts a lot. So for example, the first thing the opening is pretty straightforward. You kind of set the setting, and then there's this moment in the script where it says Julie's POV, and you see kind of the script telling you, kind of almost dictating what the shot is going to be like, right? So, and you see that shot. I think it's like it's maybe like 30 seconds in.
It also changes a bit.
Yeah, it kind of takes on that like tighter lens from a distance, so it feels like as if it's like, I think throughout the entire scene, what he tries to do is, even though he's establishing the villain in a way for the rest of the film, he's keeping you kind of in the seat with Perrier Lapidite, who's not necessarily the hero of the film, but the hero of this scene, the protagonist of this scene. And by doing that, he kind of sets you in a specific, viewpoint to see, this scene unfold. So if you want to just quickly just go to that one shot, which we can just kind of point out.
Yeah.
And then we can, and maybe we can.
So I think they paused us for violation thing. Or whatever.
Oh, on the YouTube.
It's okay. We'll figure it out later.
Okay. Maybe turn the audio off.
Which scene did you want me to?
Maybe let's turn the volume off so we're not.
Yeah. So I turn it off so we can figure. Also, the music right is something that we should like. It just immediately, like, it sort of starts very briefly in this sort of like idyllic farm, like country type of tone, and then it very quickly shifts right into this like menacing.
Well, I think it's.
I think as soon as I think we go into Julie's POV, that is when it when that shift happens. It's like very like stark.
Yeah. It almost like, I mean, even the way that the notes work, it reminds you of For Elise, for example. But yeah, it's
what the piece is.
But it sets you in the countryside, and that's
exactly.
what's so great. So you have this shot, and then she removes it, and then if you just hit play, you'll see how,
it's sort of like
rack focuses.
Yeah.
And then you have this shot where he's looking, and then there you go. That's the POV shot, right? From them.
Yeah.
So if you just pause it really quickly, it even. No, I don't think it says here. But anyhow, I mean, yeah. and then he tells his family, like, and so the biggest thing we're going to talk about as we're discussing this is like characters' objectives, really. And so, for example, right here where he says, go back inside and shut the door, it's very obvious. Like, his objective is to protect his family, right? At the end of the day. And you're kind of establishing his objective throughout the scene. It always kind of is the overarching objective of the entire character throughout the scene, and everything kind of stems from that. They may, like, the objective might change, but it all stems from protecting his family.
Exactly.
And so as we continue to move ahead,
but he's also presented later with a choice.
Exactly.
Because he's doing a lot of protecting. And then I think that's what we'll sort of see that as the scene goes on.
Yeah. And then, we can fast forward a little bit, but you get this sense of the danger that's approaching, right? So this kind of the slower pacing of this, and then as the car is coming through that countryside road up to this, I guess they're kind of also on a hilltop on this higher perch.
Yeah.
You're kind of creating this sense of, danger approaching. So you can just hit play, and we can continue to see how that unfolds, and then he's.
So I feel like this is like a peculiar bit, right? Just where he asks her to get him
the water
to set up like for his wash up and stuff, which makes sense,
right?
I guess in an attempt to like act normal.
Yeah, but
right?
see here you have like the danger approaching yet, and then you have this close up, and you see how like the last shot was slightly wider than this shot is close up, and then here you have like this very like low angle heroic type of shot. It leaves you with this heroic moment. And so all of these kind of just the build up in terms of shot structure, I guess you would say, in the editing as well. And I love this, him walking inside his house and he's like, take care of your sisters. It's almost like he's trying to keep his cool.
Exactly. And he says don't run as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Because it's sort of, I mean, like in that sense, like there's nothing to hide, right? Like I think we're wondering also as audience members what's going on now. Right?
Exactly.
Like what's the deal? Why is he so in that sense, like so strongly telling them to stay inside? And which obviously we'll find out soon enough.
And then
I guess also just while they were occupying France, I guess that sort of just put everyone on edge, right? When they were just these like German officers would visit, like random visit, I guess. Put people on edge.
Definitely. And then you have this moment just right after that. It's like where he says on the script it says so you see the cars come up, and then he says, we don't move into them, but keep observing them from a distance like the farmer. And so the next shot we'll see right after this is exactly that. It's you're seeing it from a distance. So
let
me see that. And so here, see you feel a little
this is
distant.
from their point of view.
Yeah, exactly. Also, some of this, like I think in the edit, some of the lines maybe have changed, so you'll see kind of some stuff here that's on the page that's not on the screen. But really, there was one line here that in the script which I thought was very interesting, which was when he speaks to, I guess, the driver. He says, "Herman, until I summon you, I am to be left alone," right? And so in that moment, almost. I mean, we don't know this yet, but we're gonna find out, which is
exactly.
But I mean, from a character standpoint, Landa, who is that Nazi officer, he knows his objective, and his objective is to find the Jews, right? So you have to see kind of how the performance and all those little beats around there, from here on out through the rest of the scene, is to find the Jews that are hiding. So, shall we continue playing?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Okay.
There's just some issue with the stream. Okay, it's back on now, just because of the video.
Oh, okay.
Thing. playback and the audio things. I guess we just keep talking through it.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
So
So here, I mean, this is where basically he's saying all of those things, right?
yeah.
When we don't, I mean, I guess if you don't know German, or you can hear it, I guess, because I don't even think you can really hear it as well.
Yeah.
Like it's quite low in the thing, so like you wouldn't necessarily know that he's saying those things to them.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't. That's fairly. I think you're pretty much the intended like point of view or like frame of context is the farmer and his family.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's what we're
exactly.
we're seeing.
And you're also like, I mean, by doing this, if you just play, you're also kind of setting up all these like spaces, really, you know. And what you'll also notice is what's really interesting, and I think it stems from Perrier Lapidite's objective, which is to protect his family. But his responses are very short, curt, defensive. You know, like for example, you'll see where you know, Landa introduces himself, and it's, you know, it's very charming and very like, you know, pleasant. It doesn't seem threatening at first, you know. And I think that's the you know, there's a certain manipulation that he's doing to attain his objective.
It's, I mean, it's all like in that sense, like if you think about it, it's all one kind of like it's a dance of sorts, right? Where it's like all of these, like he's playing out these moves, you know, and it's like he's like going through these motions intentionally, and then, you know, but obviously underlying is still this, like he's still getting to the same point. Also, I don't know if we can play it right through because it seems to be creating.
Okay, do we want to just go to stills then? Just fast forward through it as stills. So there's.
So I can just like keep like fast forwarding.
Yeah. Through. So just just hit the. I guess you can just hit the right arrow a couple times. Okay. So yeah. It's a pleasure to meet you, Monsieur Lapidite, and then we can keep going. You'll see you'll get the. So I'm Colonel Hans Landa of the SS. Great. And you know, you have these nice, you know, you have a great 50-50 shot here, as we kind of discussed earlier, you know, setting up this A versus B type of, you know, moment. So great. And then
it's also like it's very like obviously overly I'm assume keeping in tradition with the just like the I guess traditions of that time, right, in terms of like the politeness and then that sort of like level of formality that people would have with one another when they don't, like, they've never met before. And I think that sort of like it leans into that a bunch, and that allows you to sort of just like understand some of these things, you know, because he's asking like, oh, can I, you know, it's great to meet you. I was hoping you can invite me inside. And we can chat, right?
But see, there's like the beautiful thing is that I think from an objective standpoint, I think what Landa is trying to do is, you know, establish that intimacy and closeness, right? Because if someone's invited you into their house, you're automatically setting a certain level of comfort. Whereas, like, you're on their territory. Whereas out in the open with these soldiers in the cars with their guns, you know, anything can happen.
It's very like standoffish as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas when they're sitting at, you know, at the table across from one another, like it's very familiar and like very
exactly. So he's trying to put
not casual, but like
put Perrier at ease.
Familiar is the light, right? Yeah, exactly.
So okay, now we can like kind of fast forward a bit. So you get
to into the house.
Yeah, you get to meet the family. You know, he says, "Please excuse my rude intrusion on your routine." It's kind of just being courteous, and you know.
I don't know if does he actually say that in the.
I think it might have been pulled out of the edit.
I think it was cut out.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, when he like
he just goes straight to that rumor.
Yeah, right? about the daughters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, even that too, it's like the pleasantries, and then that all kind of leads to the conversation. And then I love this.
But it also kind of like, I feel looking back on it now, it like sort of gives some sense of an idea, right? Where he says like, oh, the rumor that I've heard about your family, like about your daughters, is true.
Yeah.
And then he'll talk about like rumored nicknames and things
Later.
Later, which you sort of like, it sort of like goes by. I mean, it goes past you, but like that's something that you're already sort of primed
For.
to receive.
Yeah. Exactly. And then there's this line where Perrier says, "Charlotte, would you be so good as to get Colonel some wine?" And I love that because he's trying to appease, I guess, in a way, like and be very courteous. Also, just pause real quick. If you go back to maybe we go back to that shot here. Perfect. I love how you have the soldiers in the background through the window.
In the background, yeah.
Like what a small little detail, but just adds this. I mean, you might not even notice it.
Yeah, exactly. You might miss it, but like if you do catch it, it sort of just adds that like additional layer that there's still, that it might all be nice and like sort of familiar and like warm or like comfortable inside, right?
Yeah.
But there's always
that
like the
threat.
soldiers are right outside, right? So if anything, like if anyone sort of takes a misstep or says something out of line in that sense, it could just all come crashing down.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that's there. And so yeah, and then when he asks to get the Colonel some wine, that's like him trying to be very
just like a good host,
Yeah, a good host, exactly. And then this is where I think it's Tarantino's genius, where he throws a wrench in the whole thing, and and Colonel Landa is can I have some milk? Which is, to me, it's something incredible because like if someone comes to your house and asks for milk, like to me it's like there's a certain friendliness, relatableness that comes out of that, which is not there when they're drinking wine.
But it's also kind of just I feel like it also just shows like he's sort of creating these, like by what he says and what he asks for, right? He's also just like creating this impression that he knows exactly what's going on in this house.
Exactly.
Right? He knows about Perrier's like family, right? Like what people say about his family. He also obviously knows what they do. Right. And like it's a cow, like it's like a cow farm. Right. So then, and it's sort of just like those like little, like he's just like giving those indications and like like just that, like, I know what's going on. Like, I know what you do.
Yeah. It's like, you can't hide. You can't hide from me.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, he's trying to put Perrier at ease.
And, so he's doing both simultaneously, right? Which is why it's so I feel like it works so well and like so efficiently, because he's like putting him at ease, but also at the same time saying, I know exactly, like I know what you do, I know everything, so like relax, but also just be careful, like I like don't think I don't know what I'm doing.
So the next moment you have, which is please join me at your table, and then Perrier takes a seat, right? So I think this is like a great little moment to consider as basically an inflection point, But
also, I mean, just the milk scene is great, like where he's given the milk and then just like polishes off the whole, and this whole thing, like it's very like it's sort of just like putting on a show, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, to your family and your cows, I say bravo. Like it's just like got that bit of like flair.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just sort of like adding again.
Yeah.
To all of that.
And exactly. And now here you're back in that 2-shot. And to me, really, this is you can go ahead, I think, forward 5 seconds, maybe.
Yeah.
I say bravo. And then you have this 2-shot where they sit down, and great little inflection point from here. And he said, like, because Landa is now saying, what we have to discuss would be better discussed in private. I left my men outside. Would you mind telling your daughters to, step outside? And the beautiful like moment of that is like now Landa has a new objective, right? He's trying to establish privacy, really,
Yeah.
and kind of that secrecy. Go ahead. And I love how they both like kind of lean into each other. There's like this.
Yeah, it's like another like very like intimate moment in that sense, right? Like where they're
exactly.
very very close, and it's almost like us, like as viewers, you're sort of in you're like a third person in that
at that table.
Yeah, at that table.
And
even I think even the wife and the daughters are kind of like separated.
Yeah, and there's no like real close up yet, which is really interesting as well because you know he saves it for this moment later on, which we'll see as we continue. So the next moment, as we keep going,
just take the girls outside.
Yeah.
You know, and then they step out.
They leave, and then he says, "Is it in this clip or is it in the next clip?"
I think it's
La Petite. Okay, cool. We can.
Yeah. So this is the big
So here he's trying to, you know, it's I think it's continuing in his objective. It's two parts of his objective, right? It's the previous objective of establishing privacy, which is what he wants to do now. But this kind of ties back to that larger objective we just spoke about, which is to find the Jews that are hiding. And so in this case, you know, he knows that the Jews can understand French, right? They're French Jews who are locals here. So now he's trying to establish privacy further by concealing the discussion. And so
and I think that also it's sort of just it works so well in that it's also just like the way he conveys those things, right? It's like, oh, you know, it's very like apologetic in a way that Perrier can't really refuse.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
And so he's not. It's sort of more putting him in like in a false position of weakness, right? And sort of like allowing Perrier to again, I think, feel like, oh, one, he knows that I can speak English, and two, you know, he's also like, again, that, so this is the thing, and then obviously putting him at ease as well.
Yeah. So that's, I think that takes you up till the end of this YouTube link, and then let's switch over to the other one.
So now should we play? I don't know if it's gonna be.
Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not.
I don't know how they decide.
Let's see.
Let's just like give it a whirl, and then
maybe we don't play the YouTube video fully. We can just kind of speak over it as or we can turn the volume lower, you know, at least.
Sure.
So here, if we just hit play, you know, Monsieur Lapadi, I regret to inform you. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, no, I think we're good.
Okay.
So I was just checking if it was fine.
Okay. Oh, have we had any questions so far, or any comments, or are we good so far? Because I think that might be a good, as we continue to move forward, this might be a good place to kind of just check in.
Yeah, just give me a second.
I know we're just kind of going off.
Yeah, I mean, someone said that it's a bit. Sukriti says it's a bit threatening the way he speaks of and interacts with the daughters very subtly.
Yeah,
which I think is spot on. I mean, I think that's like very intentional, right? Like that's wholly his purpose, is like to put the family at ease while also weirdly like putting them on edge. You know.
Exactly.
As contradictory as that sounds.
Yeah. So from here on out, this is once we switch to English, it's very interesting because I think, you know, he has a new objective now, which kind of once again ties into Landa has a new objective. I think Perrier's objectives for the most part always remain the same.
I mean, I think in I guess, like, if I don't know if it's a spoiler, but his objective remains protection, Right?
Yes, exactly.
Let's put it as widely as possible. And then he sort of has to choose
Mm-hmm.
whether he
What to
protects-
protect?
what to protect, but then also like what the outcome will be, right? Because like
Yeah.
I think one choice would mean that they would all die
Yeah.
potentially, or they would be okay at the cost of.
Yeah. He's basically he reaches a fork in the road,
Yeah,
and he has to make a choice, right? And that's
exactly.
always, I mean, that will be discussed later, but I think Landa's objective, while the overarching objective is obviously to find the Jewish people that are hiding, it's interesting to see how these, like, you know, inflection points kind of each take on a new smaller or shorter objective, and how that changes throughout, and
Yeah.
how that all ties into the main one. So from what we're going to see now on out, I just want you guys to think about how the objective now is to create fear, right? But the way he does it, and instead of telling, you know, I'm this scary, crazy, evil person, he poses them all as questions, and
Yeah,
so that way he
but
almost
it's not even. It's also not even like I'm this scary person, but it's just like I'm not like any other
yeah,
German officer that you have encountered or you may have encountered.
exactly,
You know, for these reasons.
yeah,
And it's like, do you know? And it's again, like you said, it's always like a question. It's like, oh, do you know my reputation,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And like, do you know my nickname?
mm-hmm.
And then it's I feel like we can talk about that, but when we get to it, but I
Yeah.
particularly like that bit.
No, exactly, and you'll
of the
notice
nickname.
how Perrier's like responses are super short. You know, it's just like yes, yes, because
Yeah.
he doesn't want to. I guess he's trying to conceal at the same time. You know, and but the really
Yeah.
interesting thing is he wants Perrier to kind of like say these things, and he's forcing it to come out of Perrier's mouth, so that it's like Perrier has to face or come to terms with who Landa is. Like, who is this man
Exactly.
sitting across from me? And so, like, let's just play it, and we'll kind of see it as it goes through. I hope it's not too much of an issue, but so they're, you know, switching their language, and yeah, I love how he asked for permission. Like, that's also just a
Yeah.
great little touch of being courteous, and here he goes. I love that.
That's a great like, are you aware of my existence?
Right?
Like that's just
Yeah.
like it's just I mean it's just like it's just incredible.
Yeah, it's just like the choice of words, right? Like you know, you could say, "Do you know who I am?" But then, "Are you
Yeah,
aware of my
exactly.
existence?" is 10 times better, especially
Yeah,
for this
exactly.
character, you know? So yeah, we can keep going. See once again another question,
Yes.
and then yes. And you know, it's Perry not trying to say it, but then and he's, you know, saying it. I love how he's like proud of himself almost in that moment, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then this bit. Once again, you know, he's on that defensive, he's protecting, he's trying to conceal.
Exactly.
He's trying to move
He's
along.
also trying to, you know, he's trying to like play that I mean play the fool in some sense where you know he's trying to ask him like, oh, you know, it's great that you know, it's wonderful that you're here, but like I don't know why you're here.
Right.
And sort of just again to make Landa think, you know, that again play that just like it's
a trust.
You know, everything is normal. Yeah, everything is normal. Like it's just another day. There's nothing to hide in that sense.
Exactly. So you have this moment So now he's kind of just justifying really and just continuing
Yeah.
along.
But it's also so matter of fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like no like explanation that's like over, because it just sort of says like, you know, like when under new management there's a certain amount of duplication, which is like, I mean, it's so innocuous
Yeah, exactly.
that like it just you know, it doesn't.
No one would question it, is the thing.
Exactly.
And then this moment right here where he says, "I just have a few questions, Monsieur Lapadi, if you can assist me with any answers." It's like kind of creating this, and you know, we can close the case on your file or your family. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
That
And it's like, oh, just answer these like simple questions, and
exactly.
then we'll be done.
Yeah, it's
right?
like a
That's
false
it.
sense.
Like, it's a and it's also it's like oh, almost that like, oh, this is just like a formality. Like
Yeah.
there's no like, this visit is just like one of those things that we had to do.
Yeah, it's like nothing to worry
but, like,
about.
No big deal.
Yeah, nothing to worry about. False sense of comfort. I love this. Like, you know, and then what Tarantino does very, very well. We're still like live, right? We're not having any issues with the copyright.
Yeah,
thing?
no,
Okay.
We're good. I think the stopping every now and then is
Okay.
helping a bit.
So, you know, what's really interesting is that Tarantino throws in these little character bits, right? So what the next bit that you see is taking his black leather attaché case and placing it on the table. He takes out a folder from inside, and then there's that fountain pen, right? And so
yeah, the ink bottle, like he just like this whole like spread, like he's just like brought his whole like office desk,
yeah,
right, with him basically.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like a slight flex, but it also shows the meticulous character that he is, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And you even have, like, I mean, as we continue to play it, which we can do, there's more, you know, questions that put Landa on the offensive, right? He's playing this offensive game, trying to, you know, take control of the scene. But
it's also like very much one of those situations where he plays the laid back sort of like personality, even though everything you know, it's sort of just like it's like a front in that sense, where like everything in real, like he actually is very diligent, you know, very like meticulous, very particular, but he comes in sort of like a aloof, detached manner, right? And it's sort of, it's all this like calculated game.
Yeah. Also, I just like, and you'll see it too when you see the close-ups of the details that he's writing in. Like, you even see the handwriting and like how neat his handwriting is, for example, and the details there. Is that correct? Once again, defensive. Putting him at ease in his own house.
Yeah.
And then you have this moment where let's just pause real quick. So I think this is like another inflection point, right? And so now, if you actually just go back 5 seconds, keep going back, like before he stands up, right? So keep going. Another 5 seconds back, actually, like the previous shot. Sorry. Yeah. See. So yeah. So here, and then you cut, and then so you go to the other side as he stands up. And now here you're on this other side, and now you're like finally getting to Landa, officially at least stating what his goal of this scene is, right? To find the Dreyfuses.
Yeah. And it also, like, it happens, like what's interesting is that it's sort of, you know, obviously by design, but like it happens when he's backing him. Right, like he's asking that thing, which I think for Perrier also is a convenient like moment to be asked that question, because then he like sort of doesn't need to worry as much about what his face might be revealing, right? Without
it's a moment to get up, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think Perrier also knows the questions that are going to be asked as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, I think he sort of is ready for this, but is doing his best to like steel himself from not giving anything away.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. So we were sort of gone off for now. So I think that the stream keeps going, but no one can hear us. So
What?
just gotta.
Oh.
It just says stream unavailable. We're streaming and everything's fine. It's
Okay.
You just go like pause because that's super annoying. Why does that happen with YouTube videos?
Yeah, when it's already a YouTube video. That's
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know whenever we're back up, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just like keep like pausing the video, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or maybe we just do the stills like we were doing before.
yeah, it's annoying though because like the scene's great. Like it's not as impactful. I don't know.
No, of course.
Super annoying.
We can send the link as well in the group.
Yeah, we'll do that for sure. Also, I think we were like talking about figuring out the thing this week. So I'll let you know what time when we chat about it, just in terms of like the format and frequency, because I think that like we might do it like a little less than every week if we're doing like more stuff. I don't know what you feel
About what?
just like about the cinema club in general.
Okay, we can figure that out.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're back now.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I mean, where we were
1 second.
talking.
Yeah.
No, let's just go to the next. I mean, we can just keep going through these as stills, I guess.
Yeah. So we'll just do that. Yeah. So I mean, so what we were saying is that it's sort of the right moment, coincidentally, obviously by design from like the writing and like the filmmaking point of view, but like in the story, right? Perrier gets up. I think he asks him about smoking the pipe at the right moment. I think let's put it like that, right? Like he asks him, "Can I smoke my pipe?" just when he feels that Landa is about to sort of get into the real questions. And so he gets up and then is backing him, obviously, and then he said, that's when Landa starts talking about how all the Jewish families in the area have been accounted for, obviously, except the Dreyfuses. And that's where we, like you were mentioning earlier, we get to know his objective in this, like specific objective in this scene, or in this section of the scene.
So we're just going to keep going through these as stills. He comes back, takes a seat. He's in the foreground. I love rumors. Sorry, no, not yet. So which leads me to the conclusion. They're still talking. They're still chatting. He's asking these questions. And he says, "What have you heard?" And Lapidi says, "Only rumors."
This is also great. About again so it sort of ties that in, right, with the earlier mention of rumors and the daughters. He's sort of talking about rumors again, and then that'll this is sort of that bit that I was referring to.
It's about finding the truth.
He says that that facts can be so misleading, where rumors, true or false, are often revealing. So what are the rumors that you've heard? And then obviously Perrier says,
he says, "Speak freely, Monsieur Lapidi. I want to hear what the rumors are, not who told them to you." I don't know if that was in the actual film itself,
I'm not sure.
And then Perrier kind of says, again, this is just a rumor, but he's giving a very non-committal kind of answer. These are not facts. These are just what I've heard. And
sort of taking away any and all responsibility that he has, right? Or any, not responsibility, sorry, but like any association with it. Saying that like this is just what I've heard, like I don't actually know, but what I've heard is that they've made their way to Spain, and then to which Landa says, "Oh, so you've heard rumors of escape?"
So
right.
So you have this close up and of the pipe as he smokes it, and let's keep going. Okay, so what's really interesting is there's a shot in the script, but that shot in the film happens later, and we'll talk about that when we
Okay.
get to it. So you have this nice. Once again, you're back in a two shot. They're talking about all these things, the characters, the family. You're understanding who the Dreyfuses are, right? You're kind of building up the tension. As a viewer who's watching this for the first time, you're still thinking, oh, they've escaped to Spain. Kind of like
Yeah.
you're led to believe whatever Perrier is telling you, right? Because he's the only source of information.
Exactly.
And then as we keep going, so let's get to...
So then he's sort of like getting more information, saying that, oh, I've never met them before. Can you confirm, that this is the makeup of that family, right? So there's 5 of them, father, wife, brother, and then the two daughters, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, children, sorry.
Yeah. But, what's interesting is he even says, like, for example, if you keep going on the script, we'll show them, I guess, which he says is Amos 6, I believe, and Shoshana was 15 or 16, I'm not really sure. He tries to play it cool, he's pretending not to know too much about the family. He's pretending
and
to
there's like sort of that like seemingly natural hesitation, right? Which is like, I think, like, I'm not sure this.
Yeah.
Which I think if you cross the line and it becomes too much, then you're able to sort of see through it.
Yeah. So let's just go back real quickly. Keep going back. Okay. Keep going back more. A little more. Okay. So what's happening here is beautiful. You're doing this, rotational camera move as this whole scene is happening, and you're going from being on one side of the room, on one side of the 180-degree basically line between the two characters, to the other side, right? And so now you're switching kind of the perspective on the scene in a way. You're going to another side of the space. So now
so from here, then you sort of make that.
Yeah. And that also kind of creates tension, It's all one shot. It's not a cut. It's slowly building into this moment, which will now build into this next moment as we have kind of figured out who these people are. And now, if you see,
so this is the back to the handwriting that you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
And then this is that. Should we try?
Yeah, let's play this. So here you have a close up of him, when he's.
Wait, let's just.
And then the camera kind of goes down to his leg, and you're like kind of like wondering what you're going to be discovering. You don't really know what you're going to discover.
Yeah.
And then you go through these floorboards and you see. Okay, let's pause it before it gets too much. Okay. So you see this reveal, and you see kind of what you're really like looking at in a way. You know what I mean? Like what the scene is about at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is crazy because on a script that is, 17 pages, you're not seeing these guys until page 10, which is the halfway point of the scene. Also, in the original screenplay at least, this shot was written on page 9, which was a little earlier. Which is, and I think it's interesting because before it was supposed to come after were the Lapadites and the Dreyfus family friendly? Were your two families friendly? But now coming in after having introduced the family, and it's the last person they speak about is Shoshana in the script, and Perrier talks
and then
about,
that's where it
lands
sort of
on.
begins to say,
And then you hear the family, you see who the family members are, and you come down and you see Shoshana, which is actually who's going to be one of the major characters for the rest of the film. So it's a very beautiful way to introduce her.
That's also, it's also like a great, like if you think about it from that point of view, it's a great way to introduce. It went off. Why does it happen so late? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's probably their algorithm.
Yeah, just kicking in. All right, we'll pause for a second.
Maybe we need to figure out a better way now to do this.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. Like, we'll figure out something that sort of just like works. So how many? I mean, it's not bad. We're like, okay,
Were there any
we're back.
comments or anything? Okay, cool. So yeah, it's just a beautiful way to introduce your kind of the lead of your film in a way, or one of the
Exactly.
leads of your film.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I mean, I think it's a very, I mean, it's a very like roundabout way
Mm-hmm.
to do it, but you do it with so much. I mean, I think like if you think about it, you've done so much like context building and so much like you set the stage for this character and they haven't said a single word,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's, I mean, like it just
Like,
it
established.
allows for things. Yeah.
Well, you've established all the stakes, right? Like, it's her life at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, you like know what the deal is, right?
Right.
Like what this person is after, what, from like I think all three stakes
Mm-hmm.
almost. All right, and I think that that just like does it so
Mm-hmm.
efficiently, and it's
Yeah.
also it's what like the first 10 minutes of the film, right?
Yeah. All right. Shall we continue onwards?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
And then this is sort of like the pivot, right? Like here again,
exactly.
When he says, he says that that's it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. Like, okay,
False
thank you for
comfort.
that. Yeah, like it's all covered,
Uh-huh.
and then he says that obviously he's like, can I have another glass of milk?
Yeah. So as we continue forward, we'll see.
And then we sort of come back up,
Yeah.
right, to the table.
Yeah.
Are
you hitting the next? Okay, there we go. Yeah. So we see the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're seeing him grab the milk. We can keep going, and once again.
And then this is again the rumors, right,
Yeah.
and the questions.
Exactly.
Where he says, "Are
Mm-hmm.
you, Monsieur La Petite, are you aware of the nickname the people of France have given me?" And then again, Perrier is very sort of like he tries and deflect.
Exactly.
And says, I have no interest in such things, and then obviously Landa doesn't sort of like let up. He says, but are you aware of what they call me?
I'm aware. What are you aware of? I love how he's like trying to get him to say it, and then
yeah, exactly.
And then you have, but you are aware of what they call me. I'm aware, and then it's they call you the Jew hunter.
Exactly.
And then the next line that Landa says literally is what he's like trying to establish, like kind of get out of it in a way, which is precisely, now I understand your trepidation in repeating it,
Yeah.
So yeah. And he says, like, but I, on the other hand, love my unofficial title precisely because I've earned it.
Yeah.
So we can keep going. And I love how
I think it's sort of like an interesting, like, just a small comment on these nicknames, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, he says, he's talking about this, this other person who hated, the nickname that they received, which was the Hangman. And then he says that it's something that obviously, like, he says is baffling because he did everything to earn it, right? Which I think is like, it's just like it's like a wonderful sort of like way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's that like these nicknames you do often, that like people get, like unofficial ones, they do in that sense. There is a reason behind it, right? And then like it is in some sense the actions that result in them receiving the name.
Yeah. And then you have, kind of this monologue of sorts where he kind of explains himself. We can kind of go through that a little bit. I mean, we can skip through it kind of in a way. But really what he's trying to do the whole time here, even with the whole scene where he starts talking about, the rat and, has a rat ever done anything for you to create this animosity you feel towards them? And then he's like, Perrier says, there's no difference between a rat and a squirrel, but you
No.
hate the
Yeah.
you hate the rat more than you do the squirrel, and all of this, and he's kind of, in a way, he's rationalizing his belief and actions and his identity and who he is, and kind of building that tension at the same time.
Exactly.
And then eventually, if we keep going far enough, also, from a shot perspective, you have these two shots, right? It's just like two profile shots. They're both kind of, Landa's like leaning back, and it's just this very nice confrontational, but not confrontational feeling for these two, shots. And if we keep going,
but it's also very like conversational, right? In that, like that's the same, like that that tone sort of remains, right? Like I think even in the script, like when it stops, it says, after he says, I love my unofficial title, right? And there's a break in the script that says, as quotes, the Jew hunter enjoys his fresh milk, he continues to theorize with the French farmer.
Yeah.
Right. Which is which I think it captures the tone of this this section of the conversation so well, because it is, like Landa is very, like, he's postulating in some senses, right? Like he's saying, oh, but why would you, like you were saying that, oh, the rat and the squirrel, they're not so different, but you treat one so differently as compared to the other. It's sort of just like again continuing with that that theme of just like question, like presenting these questions to Perrier, and in some sense, like you said, some sense making him understand what he's doing, or like why he's doing it and how he's doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, a lot of this scene got cut out of the final edit. When you see the script, you'll see that I think there's a bunch of lines in here that, are not in the film itself, which is, goes to say, like, so much, like, it's never a one-to-one translation from script to edit, because you want to see kind of what's either, from a pacing standpoint, what's dragging the scene and what's kind of propelling it forward. And so what you see on screen at the end of the day, like, while what we read on the page might be interesting from a reading perspective, but on the screen, I think, the way the scene pushes forward is amazing. That's what's like great about it. But then you get to this moment, like if we keep going ahead a little bit further, he says, I didn't think so. You didn't like them. You don't really know why you don't like them. All you know is you find them repulsive. And so what's happening here is, like, his objective is once again rationalizing, but this rationalization leads to, him kind of explaining why he's good at what he does. And, this whole thing kind of sets up it leads you into the climax, really. He says, because I'm aware what tremendous feats human beings are capable of once they abandon dignity, right? He almost even puts them down, puts the Jews down that are hiding.
No, exactly.
And then
obviously finally that's sort of like where he sort of breaks that, right? Like he's been having these this like conversation, and then he just sort of stops it and says, may I smoke my pipe as well?
And in a way, he's trying to get on equal ground with Perrier as well, who's smoking his pipe, And then Perrier obviously gives in and is like, feel comfortable and all of that. And then you see him
make yourself at home.
Yeah, you see him. So you see him pull out this massive pipe and start to smoke it. And obviously here he's trying to, like, almost one up Perrier, kind of establish who he is. And I think that's where also, like, from the standpoint of a production designer and a art director and a props team, it's really interesting because in a script you can just see a pipe. I mean, the Jew under it kind of does give a little bit of a description on what the pipe is.
It does, it does.
But at the same time, I mean, so much of it is what like they say, like, for example, the chair that a character sits on, right? That tells so much about who that character is. So similarly,
Right.
all these little like props and things, they all kind of speak to who they are. And so, you have this entire scene which kind of, I don't know if this actually made it to the edit as well. The other mistake German soldiers make is the handling of the Jews, the punishments, and all of this. But we can skip through this part, I think, really quickly.
Yeah.
But there's this question that Landa asks, right? If we keep going ahead.
Where he says to protect my family.
Yeah, so what do you consider your number one duty? To protect my family. And so here Perrier has stated his goal and objective, right? And so now, in a way, Landa knows what he can target.
But again, but Landa's asked him again, right?
Yeah.
When in fact, I mean, effectively he knows, right? Like he knows that that's his duty. He sort of is asking to add, to like get Perrier to just like think of these things side by side.
Yeah.
Right? I also think, and think of them like within the same context.
Yeah. Because it's like also just like now it's like he says in the next line, kind of, I've conducted my thorough search before I can cross your family's name off my list. And he specifically mentioned the family's name, not even your name. And then if there are any regularities to be found, they will be, if there are, unless you have something to tell me, right? And so he's giving Perrier the worst case scenario, like, look, you can get away easy if you kind of know who I am, you know my reputation, you know my, all of these things about me, and you know how kind of crazy I am.
Yeah.
So at this point, if you want to give up, these Jews that are hiding, if you have them, do it, because we will stop to bother you. And Perrier has...
Yeah, and then also he sort of gives that piece of information, right? Which is, I think, this is the first time where he's telling him something directly.
Yeah, very directly.
Without like a metaphor or question or something. But he says, that like, that any information that makes the performing of my duty easier will not be met with punishment. Actually, quite the contrary, it'll be met with reward, right? That's sort of like he's giving him.
Yeah. And that reward will be your family.
Again.
And that reward will be your family will cease to be harassed in any way. So like, let's just continue to move forward a little bit. Let's keep going ahead until, Perrier doesn't say anything. Have you gone ahead a little bit? Oh,
and then
for some reason on my screen it's not. Oh, it's not. Okay, and then you have these close-ups.
Yeah. And then so I think that, like you were saying earlier, right? Like they're at the right time, right? They're like reserved for this express purpose.
Yeah.
Like he sort of starts thinking, and then this obviously is when I think the first close up on Landa is when he says that bit that I was talking about earlier, is that about the information.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then it turns to Perrier, and then when it's talking about the reward for the family.
Yeah, and if you were to play this, you would see it, but the camera's slowly just pushing in on, or zooming in on both of their faces, and you'll see it as we go from shot to shot. It gets slightly closer each time, and then he says, you're sheltering them underneath your floorboards. Yes,
enemies of the state.
Yeah, and then that's the decision he has to make, where he has to decide whether he points them out. So as we keep going ahead. And, we're kind of closing in on both of them as they're building this tension.
Yeah.
So, and then he reluctantly, kind of points them out.
Yeah, points it out. And then this is also where we learn, right, as for the first time, the switch from French to English.
Yeah.
Where he says, since I haven't heard any disturbances, I assume that while they're listening, they don't speak English, right? And that's when it's sort of like all begins to fall into place.
And then when he says, I want you to follow my masquerade, that's to like maintain fear, and then the whole idea of surprise with regards to his objective. and then he does say, you know, the next line, which is, Monsieur Lapadie, I thank you for your milk and your hospitality. I do believe our business here is done, in French. And obviously that's all just a guise to kind of keep the Dreyfuses from, you know, having a scare and keeping them, you know, kind of relaxed, I guess, in this moment. And so you know, and then obviously we see what happens after that, really. And as we see this through to the end of the, I guess, scene, really, because there's no more dialogue, really. But
Yeah,
as you
that's
see
it.
it
And then so
on,
basically he like opens the door,
yeah,
right?
But-
And then he says bye. He says goodbye to the ladies when in reality he's calling the soldiers in.
yeah, and all of these moments, it's kind of building up that tension. And when you see the script, it says, you know, I mean, well, later on, actually, a little bit past this, but it's like, you know, the vent is kicked open, the girl springs out. You know, I love how even with the spacing of the lines, you kind of cut back and forth between following Colonel Landa's character and the cuts between Shoshana. You feel it on the page itself. The visuals itself on the page are building that tension, which we'll see as we keep going ahead. You know, okay,
Yeah,
so
here vent is kicked open, girl springs out.
Colonel Landa, as he crosses the floor, sees the young girl running towards the cover of the woods, which he unlatches the window and opens it. A little bit different in this because it's the door frame. Shoshana is perfectly framed in the windowsill. Shoshana running towards the woods, farmhouse, and Colonel in the window in the background. So if we keep going forward, you'll see filthy bare feet slapping against. So it's like it's telling you, you know, there's a close up of that. You know, you have this shot of Landa with the door frame behind him. You have the close up on Shoshana's face as we keep going forward. And the whole thing, every time, it's always kind of zooming in and getting closer and tighter, and just really, I guess, just building the tension. And if I wish we were able to play it a couple times, but we can't without this whole copyright thing. But just the pace of the editing with the music and the sound and everything, it's this entire. It's sort of just
like builds, right?
Yeah.
And like to the point where he's like he has the gun pointed out.
Yeah.
And then I think what is the thing that's so like that just it feels like a cherry on top of this whole scene, right? Is that he changes his mind.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take the shot.
Yeah.
And I can't show it here because the scene will be over. But he doesn't take the shot, right? And then that sort of just like diffuses all of that tension.
Mm-hmm. And he says "Au revoir, Shoshana," which is like such a great line to end the scene in a way itself too. You know,
exactly.
It gives it this, you know, it ties up the whole thing into this nice package. And I think Tarantino plays very interestingly with chapters in this film as well, because you know, which if we talked about the whole film, we could talk about it forever. But but yeah, it's just like the idea of chapters, right? So it's like this. It's not necessarily a series of, you know, it's not a very traditional narrative in a sense. He's playing with a traditional narrative, but he's also breaking from that traditional narrative in some sense. You know,
exactly.
With the idea of chapters. But yeah, I think what's beautiful about this scene, just to kind of wrap things up, because we've been going on for a bit now. It's but it's the idea of how he builds tension right throughout. It's really, that's the takeaway. Through the shots, through the dialogue, and especially through the objectives, because I think like a big part of, you know, while the visuals and the you know, the use of sound is very important, I think another big part of the filmmaking process, which we haven't necessarily talked as much about yet, I think, is the directing, right? And how you direct your actors and how you kind of pull that performance through them. Because in a way, I'm very curious because like these characters are also a little bit larger than life, and that tends to happen that happens to be the case with Tarantino. But at the same time, there's some truth to it. It doesn't feel like a fantasy. It feels very real at the end of the day. And so there is something very interesting that he's doing with the script, but also with the performance, to kind of find that nuance and that thin, like, you know, it's a very thin line between going in either direction, right? Between realism and absurdity.
Yeah.
And he toes that line
Exactly.
very, very carefully and very in a very nuanced way. So yeah.
I mean, I think you're just like at this point, like you're expecting to hear, I mean, to see these like characters, right? But I think they're just like grounded. They're grounded in reality. That's sort of like once they're filled out, right? And like once you sort of add their like nuances and sort of like you like lean into some specifics and some like quirks about them, you're already like ready, or rather, you're already buying into it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you just like believe it even more.
Cool. Did we have any comments or questions, really?
Not really.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. So
that's mostly it. But yeah, I think that was solid despite all of our like technical glitches and things.
Yeah.
I think we finally got through the scene.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out for next time.
But I mean, for those of you that like have seen it or sort of joined us on this, but haven't seen the whole film, we definitely recommend watching the scene and the rest of the film, because it really, you know, I think it'll contextualize a lot of what we've been saying and sort of just like set that foundation for the whole
Absolutely.
story.
Absolutely. I think, yeah. Ishan, do you want to quickly just pull up the Virtual Cinema Club next week's films?
Yeah, I got it open already.
We're going to go back to watching films next week. We can... Do we have the links there?
Yeah, so next week we're watching... no, the link's on there. But we're watching 2 films by Indonesian director Muli Surya. Sorry, I don't know if I said that good. Malina, The Murder in 4 Acts, and What They Don't Talk About When They Talk About Love. Are the 2 films that we'll be chatting about next week.
And we'll send all that information in the Telegram group as well, so you guys don't have to worry about it. But yeah.
Yeah, and then I think and also it'll be on Instagram tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, sounds good.
Or in the morning.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks to everyone who joined us. We hope you enjoyed this intermission session. We'll be back next week.
Yep. All right. Sounds good. Take care.